All right, everyone. We are going to welcome Jen back up to the stage, and she's going to moderate a conversation with our partnership lead over at TikTok. We have Oliver Silzer over here. Oliver is a longtime friend of Cohley and has really made it possible for us to create a ton of value with our clients on TikTok. Woo! Yeah.
All right, I hope you're not sick of me yet. I'm back. Yes, so I'm going to let Oliver introduce himself. We have been partners for years. I think we were one of the first official TikTok marketing partners back in the day. So we've had the pleasure of working with Oliver now for, I don't know, I think maybe 5-ish years. So tell the group about yourself.
Well, hi everyone, and thanks Cohley team for having me. Super excited to be here today to talk a little bit about TikTok. As mentioned, my name's Oliver Silzer. I've been with TikTok for about 5 years now, and in that time have worked in a few different roles. First on the advertising side of the business, and more recently on the TikTok shop side of the business. So happy to sort of touch on and cover both for a full-fledged picture of TikTok. Been working with Cohley, as Jen mentioned, for quite some time. They were early adopters of a lot of our APIs and partnership programs as it pertained to content development and then collaboration with creators. And more recently, we've been talking about best practices and strategies for enabling content on TikTok Shop and how to grow your business and monetize through those avenues. So definitely happy to be here today. I think TikTok has continued to evolve and transform itself in a lot of ways, as many company has throughout the last few years. The convergence between e-commerce and advertising and social media has never been more prevalent. We had some people touch today on how Amazon has continued to invest in creator and affiliate space. Obviously, TikTok Shop is indicative of that as well. So really just excited today to be talking a little bit about all the different ways that content on TikTok can help bring your brand strategy to life, and how partners like Cohley make that possible.
Yeah, TikTok has had a great evolution for us. I mean, I remember years ago, you were a very edgy brand if you're deciding to invest on TikTok, and now it is an absolute must. You have to be on TikTok to even keep up. So today we're going to explore real-world strategies covering TikTok from organic social to paid media to TikTok Shop, so every step of the funnel. So let's start with organic social, if my clicker will work. Aaron, do you have access there to go to the next? All right, well, this slide isn't super important. It is just a title slide. So we'll let them work on that. But we're going to start with organic TikTok. And Oliver, I would love if you can kind of talk through what makes organic TikTok still such an important channel for discovery.
Yeah, absolutely. So TikTok, I think as a platform, has always really been rooted in discovery. Everyone who's used TikTok has come on with the intention of discovering new content and engaging with new creators, new pieces of video. I think, emblematic of that is you'll be on TikTok and you'll see a video and go to click like and it'll have 25,000 likes. Then the next video, you'll go to click that same like on that video and realize that you are the coveted third like. And I think the different ways in which you're able to get exposure to that content and be able to engage with it is what continues to make it a great engine for that discovery. Much of that, of course, is attributable to the algorithm. It's less rare now, but at the time when TikTok started really getting popular, that the discoverability of creators and content was democratized in this way. It was all based on scale. And so, like many other sort of similar parallels in life, as you got bigger and bigger, you were able to capture more and more of that market share, making it harder and harder for some of the little guys or the newer creators or the more niche creators to get that exposure. And so what I think the TikTok business and platform have done really well is sort of give that power back to the creators to judge them not on the volume of their followers, but on the quality of their content. And I think that's what's been really powerful, not only for those individual creators, but also for brands. I mean, you touched on it briefly, but some of the brands that were first advertising with y'all on TikTok were smaller companies maybe you hadn't heard of at the time. And within 1 to 2 years, they'd grown to $100 million annual revenue brands. And so it's that type of power that I think is attributable not only to the creator space, but also to the brands themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I remember in the early days when brands were getting on TikTok, they weren't using creators. They were just trying to repurpose content that they had in-house, make it vertical, make it shorter, and plaster it on TikTok, and it just wasn't performing for them. And these days, I think it's very obvious that creator content is what works best, even from a brand perspective, right? Like, if you are creating it in-house, you still want a lo-fi storytelling piece of content versus only having the professional content. And it's not to say that professional polished content doesn't work on TikTok. There's absolutely many brands in many cases where they've been able to generate a lot of buzz, followers from more of that polished content. But what we're seeing as like an overall trend is the lo-fi creator content is what works best. And in many cases with brands, there's a mix of both. There's a mix of the brand perspective of perhaps like a founder videos, the series, in addition to store employees, in addition to creator content that makes up their mix of their organic TikTok feed.
Yeah, that's a great point. And another element, I think, to the whole TikTok experience is that so much of what is permeating in popular culture is originating on the platform. I think you see that with not only sort of brands and popular products, but you also just see it with music. You see it with trends. You see it with memes that are entering other elements of the space. You see it in the news. And so I think the fact that there is, that opportunity for exposure, and of course, there's the entire sort of end-to-end experience of coming here to find that and then engaging it, going deeper down the funnel with it, and continuing to build your relationship with it. That makes it all so powerful. It starts from the originating content, but then it begins to spread sort of throughout the platform into different types of people, and then out there and beyond that. And so I think it's that type of cultural resonance that keeps a lot of people coming back, and again, sort of having that youthful curiosity that makes the platform engaging.
And that is why you need TikTok-specific content to succeed on TikTok. And that's across organic, paid, TikTok Shop. It needs to feel organic to the feed, or users are just going to swipe right on to the next. And what that means is that the content you're generating, honestly, the creators are going to best represent that for you. And if you, especially in the early days, I remember a lot of resistance to brands investing on TikTok is like, we know you need TikTok-specific content, we just don't know how to generate it. And that's why you need to lean on creators, right? They already bring the authenticity just from their POV of not being a brand employee and being able to talk about your product from the stance of a consumer that will resonate for those that are shopping or just learning more about your brand. And so I have a couple of examples here of content that we have created for Coach. And so the good and better videos, these are actually what they generated in-house. And you'll see kind of this like gradient of more polished professional to, employee in store to creator POV. And again, what I want to emphasize here is not that polished content doesn't work, but as a trend, we see that lo-fi creator content tends to perform better. So we'll play this first video where you can see it was created in a studio with Coach. I think it's muted. Perfect. And I think what you'll see about this video too. There we go. Okay, it is very short. That is all that was. But the best practices are, right, it is very short. It is visually stimulating. It has a trending video. So, when you look at your checklist items of, is this TikTok friendly? Yes, it is. But now let's look at this next video that was created by a Coach employee in store.
I just wanna live it up. I just wanna live it up. I affirm it in the mirror every time I wake up. Give it up. I just gotta give it up. I ain't even gonna stress it. I'm just here to have fun. Shake it up. I'm just trying to shake it up. Mix a little bit of happy, get a whole lot of love.
So this is a great video too. Visually stimulating, actually some utility, right? And showing like what can you actually fit in these bags, seeing the bags and something other than, a product on white background, and giving a little life by showing hands on screen with a real person. But now let's compare all of that to this.
What fits inside my Coach Swinger bag?
It's pretty spacious on the inside, so let's see what we can fit in here. Sunglasses case, keys, lip products, phone, roll-on perfume, and hand sanitizer. And let's zip her up. Perfect.
So I think historically, sometimes brands have been, hesitant about a video like this representing their brand, right? It's a luxury handbag brand. Why would I use a creator in their car just showing, some random products in their bag? But this is actually what's resonating with people that are scrolling on TikTok. And in some circumstances where a brand might want to protect their brand equity, maybe they don't put it on their own feed, they can use it in ads. They can use whitelisted ads from the creator's stance, right? So like this is where it can make sense to take some risks, even if maybe you don't want to affect your brand's organic feed. But what we do see across the board is that this lower FI content is what's going to perform best. Anything to add before we move on to paid media?
Yeah, I think, what we saw in the early days of 2020 was a lot of brands were coming to the platform and taking, say, their TV 30-second spot and running it horizontally on the platform. And that type of content wasn't really working. So the companies that were really leaning into the creator-led content did really well. While that content continues to flourish, I think each brand is going to have to approach the platform a little bit differently. Some are really going to resonate well with that type of content. Others are going to want more polished video content to match their brands. And so, as marketers, it's about understanding who your audience is, what the placement is, a lot of these things people have touched on today, but also even within the, what type of content, thinking about when and how and where is it more or less appropriate to do something that's slightly more upscale and elevated versus something that is a little more lo-fi and creator-led, but really resonates as it seems natural and native to the platform itself.
Exactly, and relatable. There's a face to the creator, showing a more relatable experience, or she's in her car putting her real items in a bag. That is what's going to resonate with your consumers. All right, let's shift over to the paid side. So creators in UGC are fueling high-performing ads, and native-feeling content is still, as we've talked about, the gold standard in the TikTok paid strategy as well. And at Cohley, we think about there's two ways that you can generate content for ads using creators. One is you are leveraging a creator who is just going to generate the assets. We're not looking at their social feeds necessarily or how many followers they have or what their engagement is, but you're leveraging them for their creativity, their personalities, and they will generate the video for you to have usage rights to leverage in paid ads. Now there's a second side to it where the creator will post on their organic TikTok, and then you have the rights to whitelist the content from their feed. So we talked about this earlier, whitelisting on TikTok, it's called Spark Ads, where you're going to leverage their account to run the paid media, so it looks like it's coming from them and not necessarily your brand handle. And both, I wouldn't say there's one that's better than the other. We've seen across the board that one may have better ROI than the other. There's not like a tried and true formula for that, so we just recommend testing both out. But still, across the board, what we're seeing is that the best content does not look like an ad. It looks like UGC that you'd see on your For You page. And so I think a question we often get is like, okay, how do we brief these creators to make this TikTok native content? I'd say one of the first things we do, and my team, the managed services team, is the one that runs the creator calls with the creators and brands. The first thing we always say is like, we remind them that we don't want ads, and we want them to feel like you would put this on your own feeds. And so you want to challenge them to think of something other than just looking at your creative brief and running through the product benefits that you've listed, right? Like, how do you weave this into a larger story? And these days also we see so many get readies with me's and like day in the life with this product that we tend to also challenge like, okay, we want to see a concept beyond that. Like, we picked you because we love your humor, we love your personality, we love your energy. So how can you think of weaving this story in that resonates with you versus resonates with just the talking points that we've given you in terms of the benefits? Like, they need to work organically into your concept versus just running through a list of talking points. So that's what we'd recommend in terms of this paid strategy. Is, I think, it's easy to think of like, okay, I want them to just say good things about my product, and there you go, we have a TikTok ad. But you still need some sort of entertainment value and story other than just a face talking about your product. Is there anything else to add that you've seen on the TikTok side?
Yeah, I think it's about considering not only what sort of macro level trends that are taking place on the platform that you want to tap into, but what are also some of the smaller trends that are taking place on the platform. And that's where looking to and trusting these creators works. Obviously, everything within the sort of brand guidelines here that y'all are comfortable with. But when you think about approaching the platform, part of that trust that you're giving to the creator in creating this content is also trusting them to do what they think is best. They're the ones that are spending more time on the platform, or determining what is really resonating with their audience, or thinking strategically about how to curate this content. So it's not only about saying, hey, what's the most popular sound we can use, or what is the most popular get ready with me style video that we can produce, but rather looking to that creator and say, hey, if we put this in front of you, how would you do it? And that's where a lot of the collaboration comes into play. I don't think for many brands it's as simple as giving creators absolutely free reign with anything they want to do, because obviously you have to be considerate of your brand identity and image and content and all of those sort of things. At the same time, it shouldn't be just fully dictated to them what to do. So that's where really that collaboration comes into play. So empowering these creators to bring their creative ideation to life, of course, within the guardrails of what makes sense for your brand. Sometimes that might feel a little uncomfortable or a little more dangerous, but I think that's where the real innovation comes to life, is when a brand can portray clearly what they're trying to achieve and what makes their identity or product valuable, and at the same time enable that creator who is best in class in what they do to actually bring their ideation and their creativity and authenticity to the platform.
Yeah, I like to call it controlled UGC because it looks and feels like UGC, but there's actually a lot that goes behind the scenes with your creative briefs and the education to the creators, right? And there is this middle ground that we talked about before with the creators. Like, I want direction, but not too much direction. And I think that that's where it comes into play, like giving them inspiration for concepts, right? Like, okay, there's specific concepts I want to test out, or specific hooks that I want to test out to see how they perform in my ads. And now you fill in the rest with your stories, right? So hook and CTA can be very helpful to provide to the creators, because now you can test something on your end as well to see out of all the videos, like what are the hooks and what are the CTAs that are performing in your paid ads. But it's also giving the creators direction then to give you what you need for those tests. And then they can kind of fill in the middle with their own story, their own personality to bring your content to life. And so, yeah, that's what we mean by needing TikTok specific content. We've actually even created a program with TikTok called TikTok Creative Exchange, where TikTok also understands the need for advertisers to succeed with TikTok specific content, and if you don't, oftentimes your ads don't perform well. So we have this symbiotic program called TikTok Creative Exchange, where if you commit to a specific ad budget, then TikTok will actually fund your content creation with Cohley. So if that is something that any of you want to try, let us know. We'll definitely give you the details. But it's a great way to test out TikTok specific content if you haven't had that in the past and you've tried to run paid media and you haven't seen a lot of success.
Yeah, and one thing that's, I think, critical to remember is the shelf life of content on TikTok is, one, a bit unpredictable, but two, sometimes can be short-lived. If your TikTok is not resonating, again, all rooted back to the algorithm, then it's not going to perform as well. It's going to fizzle within that algorithm. So having a volume of content and a diversification of content is critical. As many people have alluded to today, sometimes that can be a challenge, is figuring out how much and the right amount, and what each piece of the content is doing. And so again, I think that's where partners like Cohley really come into play in helping identify what are the different strategies we want to use, and then how do we use that to inform strategy beyond what we've initially invested in. How do we diversify that? How do we expand that so we can find the right creators, the right messaging, the right styles, and the right creative elements that are going to ultimately drive success for whatever your goals and KPIs are.
Right, and speaking of paid strategy, so one thing I always recommend to brands on paid media is leveraging hook testing. And this is where a creator might generate 3 to 5 different videos for you that are all the same except for the first 3 seconds of what the hook is. And usually we're providing that hook because they are testing specific elements of your product or brand that we want to know, okay, what is the hook that will get people to actually watch this and purchase? So I have a couple examples of here. So we worked with this brand called Circle, and these are examples you can see here in text, the 3 different hooks that we wanted all of the creators to generate. But the rest of the video is the same, and so you have this constant concept that's consistent across all the videos so that you can pull out this one factor of these first 3 seconds to test, okay, now we know that we're implementing all these videos within our ads. We now know which hook is going to perform best. In our next brief, right, we can continue to iterate, continue to optimize for what we know will perform best. So we'll play this first one here for you.
I've been drinking so much more water since getting my Circle water bottle. Circle has no sugar and no artificial colors, and they have over 100 flavors to choose from. Circle makes staying hydrated fun and easy. I've been taking it with me everywhere. I even bring flavors with added electrolytes with me to the gym. So how does it work? Circle is so easy to use. Just open the flavor cartridge, insert, and tighten. You can snap the cap back to keep it out of the way while drinking. Your last step is to adjust the flavor dial from 0 to 10.
I think that was the most of that video. But what you can see there, so we're going to play the rest of these videos, and we're not going to play the whole video because the rest of it is the same. And what we're really doing here is like testing out what is the actual factor that gets people interested in the product. The rest of it, as you saw, was a product demonstration, different use cases of when you use the product. But we're not sure exactly like which hook is the one that gets people interested in learning more. So we'll play these second and third ones for you partway.
This is not the hook, just so we're clear.
That's a good point.
Really dramatic pause.
Perhaps the Wi-Fi is not our best friend right now. All right, we can come back if it loads, but it appears we might be having Wi-Fi issues.
Trying to cut down on grocery spending? Stop buying soda and try Circle. Are you tired of drinking plain water? Try
This is actually perfect because we really just need the first 3 seconds. Okay, thanks, Erin. You kind of heard some of them, but the hooks here you can see in text. These are the factors that we're testing to see what would actually resonate in the creative best with the rest of it being the same. So I would encourage you all to test that too, right? You know, like the core information or content that you need to share, perhaps to educate your customers, and it may be like a product demonstration, product use cases, and then let's test the hook or the CTA to see what is the thing that actually gets them to watch or buy. All right, so we've talked about discovery and amplification, but let's talk about conversion and the bottom of the funnel. TikTok Shop has exploded in these last couple of years, and Oliver has been at the forefront of all of it at TikTok. So tell us about TikTok Shop and why it's exploded and what brands are seeing in terms of success there.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you maybe less familiar with TikTok Shop, what it really is a full end-to-end purchasing experience directly embedded within the TikTok platform. So it is a complete marketplace where you are able to actually execute those sales in a short matter of clicks without your user ever having to leave that interface. What that does is shorten the conversion cycle, but also allow you to tie in your content and that journey a lot tighter together, which is ultimately going to provide you with not only those sales, but also more data that you can then optimize your purchasing experience with. So think of it as being able to sort of embed that full purchasing experience directly from videos. And so what a lot of our brand partners are doing are leveraging creators and content to drive to those videos, because what is unique about TikTok Shop compared to many other marketplaces, unsurprisingly, is that it's all driven by content. So you might not have the same ability to drive a huge volume of sales on something like keyword bidding. You're going to have to work with creators to build more content. You're going to have to maybe try going live. You're going to have to put forth your own brand content. And so what I think is really critical as TikTok Shop continues to grow is that brands think of this not as a entirely separate operation. We know many companies have different e-commerce teams and different, say, social media or video teams, and those two teams aren't necessarily operating with the same goals in mind or to the same effect, or working together strategically on those plans. And so while that is a bit of a differentiation from what we're doing on TikTok Shop, I think it's really critical that those teams are talking. The goal here is not necessarily to just drive sales or just drive awareness. I think what this really does is empower that full funnel, and that's what TikTok has always been about with, TikTok made me buy it, in driving that sort of initial awareness and consideration piece. And what we've effectively done here is also added on that conversion component as well. So I think it's a really great opportunity for brands to begin to tie that final purchase piece in even tighter. And what we've heard anecdotally from brands and agencies that we work with is that even if a sale isn't directly converted from, say, a TikTok Shop video, as they put out more content on TikTok Shop, they also see increases in those sales elsewhere. So the halo effect that was being discussed earlier is absolutely very real here. So while someone might be scrolling in bed, I know it was mentioned, and not ready to purchase, we are trying to make that a little bit easier on TikTok Shop. So if you're feeling really ready at 11:30 p.m. After a couple martinis, you go right ahead and you buy that pair of jeans or whatever. So
I'm a victim of that.
Ultimately, what I think we're really trying to foster here is a more integrated marketing experience. It's not just part of your funnel; it really is that full funnel. And just as a last sort of a side note, we have a lot of great partnerships and integrations that are making that easier. So when we first launched TikTok Shop, it was, how do I onboard? Now I have to upload my catalog. Who's going to do my logistics? A lot of these questions that existed. And so over the last couple of years, what my team has really been focused on is bringing in the right partnerships and integrations to make that possible, whether it's, getting your catalog from Feedonomics, or connecting to your Shopify, or fulfilling through ShipStation, or all of these types of integrations that are core to your operations. Fulfillment, returns, customer service, catalog management, so on and so forth. And where we're scaling a lot of these programs is more into that marketing component of things. And again, what we're working with Cohley on, how do you actually produce content for your own channel and then post that? How do you work with creators to give them a percentage of that sale in an affiliate capacity via third-party platforms? Maybe you need a tool for live streaming. Maybe you need to do advertising with shop ads, which is what it sounds like. It's an ad unit, but it drives directly to that product display page within TikTok so that you can convert. So hopefully that provides a little bit more context on sort of what we're building with TikTok Shop and where it's come, but more importantly, the impact it can have in connecting with the rest of your advertising and organic investment in TikTok as a platform.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point of clarity when you're starting to talk about the affiliates, is you can create content that you post on your own TikTok Shop and feed where you're tagging the products. You can also work with affiliates who are TikTok Shop affiliates that generate a commission for posting your product and tagging the product in the video. So those are like the two ways that we're really seeing a lot of brands invest in TikTok Shop right now. And I do think that there is a misconception where it's like, okay, all I need to do is generate sales on these, last click attribution sales on TikTok Shop is just get on TikTok Shop. And I'm gonna just see the sales funnel through right away, and affiliates will post, and there's just kind of like this magic scenario of like, okay, sales are gonna come in right away. That is not the case. It is just as much work to start an organic TikTok and build up a following as it is to start TikTok Shop and start generating sales. Like, your first videos are likely not going to generate sales, and it requires multiple creator, affiliate relationships, posting multiple videos on TikTok Shop to start seeing those sales come through, because you do need eyeballs on those videos in order for the sales or like the products to even get clicked on and purchased. So that is something to keep in mind, is you do want to be intentional about the content that you're putting on TikTok Shop. It is not as easy as just being there, right? So same as what we talked about with organic and paid social, be intentional about the creative and how you're showing up on TikTok Shop. So I actually have an example here of one of our clients, iHerb, that we work with, and I wanted to show you the difference in intent with creative that might have more of a brand awareness play, branding play, versus TikTok Shop play. And what you'll see is brand awareness focus can be much more general. It talks through like the benefits of shopping on iHerb. iHerb, by the way, in case you didn't know, they're a global multi-billion-dollar health and wellness retailer. And so they sell health and wellness product, beauty products, and they do have a focus to make sure people know what iHerb is and why you should shop at iHerb versus other retailers. And so what you'll see in this brand awareness video is a much more high-level view of like why, reasons to buy, reasons to believe in the brand. But then when you look at the TikTok Shop focus, iHerb is almost secondary to just focusing on the product and selling the product, showing the results of the product, right? And so I think that is one hurdle to get over, is when brands are posting content, they often want their brand to be front and center of it, when in order to sell a product and generate those conversions, you really need to be product focused. And you'll also see that the TikTok Shop video is much more lo-fi and is this more of like creator testimonial, consumer testimonial versus this like beautiful aesthetic video. And it is, the TikTok Shop one is one of their highest performing converting videos. Nah, not the Wi-Fi.
The little one
All right.
dreams it's time for mom's self-care routine with iHerb. Having the time to do my self-care routine is so important to me. It helps me reset and relax so that I can be my best self as a partner and a mom. I love how accessible my favorite self-care products are at iHerb. iHerb is an online health and wellness store that offers the best curated selection of products at their best possible value, ranging in a variety of categories such as beauty, teas and coffees, baby products, and so much more. They have no third-party sellers, so you can trust what you buy from the site. They also ship to over 180 countries. So are you ready to be a better you? Dive into your personal self-care routine with iHerb. When the little one dreams, it's time for mom's self-care routine with iHerb. Having the time to do my self
All right, so we'll compare this to the more conversion-focused video on TikTok Shop.
Y'all see this tan? See that? Do you see that? Whenever I need to tan fast, this is always what I go for. But during the summer, it is literally sold out everywhere. So I'm glad I snagged it on TikTok Shop before everybody else does. This is the Maui Babe Browning Lotion, and like it says, it is a local secret. You put on your sunscreen, put this on top, go lay out and tan, and in 1 hour, it looks like I've been laying on the beach for 2 days. This is my first tan of the summer. Sure, you've seen people talk about this and they are not lying. This is the secret to a deep summer tan. Like I said, this stuff sells out so fast. And unfortunately, on Amazon, there's a lot of third-party sellers that sell the fake stuff. So I'm so glad that iHerb started selling it because they're known as being a trustworthy seller. Get yours before everyone else does.
So you really see a difference there, right? She does mention iHerb in the video and why you should buy at iHerb over the other retailers, but it is at the end. It was product-led, product-focused, and really focused on the product first and selling the results to drive sales. Do you have anything else to add for TikTok Shop?
Yeah, I think just broadly, as it pertains to TikTok and TikTok Shop, as marketers, and I wouldn't be working in marketing tech if I didn't say AI at least one time here, so AI. But generally, I think what we're continuing to see as TikTok has grown as a platform, the there is a bit, I feel sometimes, of potential like homogenization of content where a lot of people are leaning into the same exact trends. They're trying to do the same thing. It's a lot of follow the leader. AI is only going to accelerate that with how content is developed and will have its unique elements. But again, a lot of these things are coming from the same systems and based on the same learning. So what I'd really implore a lot of brands to do is to think about how to tap into a lot of those trends, but also think about what makes them unique and what gives them voice. What is your brand personality? What is the sort of core values that you have and how you want to present yourself, and whether that's through your own content or whether that's through collaboration with creators that reflect those values or bring in a different perspective to things. I believe that authenticity and creativity and a more genuine approach is only going to stand out further in a sea of content that will just continue to grow and grow and grow. And I think that will especially resonate on a platform like TikTok, where a lot of this is going to be driven by how the humans interacting with it and viewing it or even purchasing from it actually see your content. So leverage all the tools at your disposal. Think about all the different ways in which you can make your content quality better and your quantity higher, and all the different ways in which you can hopefully make your life easier as it pertains to this content development and leveraging trends and using AI technology and those sort of things. But really encourage everyone to think about the heart of where their content comes from, because at the end of the day, I think that's going to be mission critical in helping you resonate more with consumers and actually making your brand and identity pop in a way that, you know, has longevity.
Couldn't agree more. I think we are out of time for the TikTok session, so thank you so much, everyone, for having us.
Thanks, everybody.